Today we're going to be reading some interesting stories from the RBI subreddit. So sit back, relax, and let's step into the darkness. Have you ever experienced the death of a family member? If you have, you'll know how horrible it is, and how difficult that it can be to process such a big loss. So imagine if, one day, years later, you find out that the person who you thought was dead is actually alive. I need to find serious answers about this, because at this point, I don't know if there's something wrong with me, or if there's something wrong with my family. My great aunt Anna Julia, let's just call her Julia, died of natural causes at 90-something a couple of years ago. I remember my father getting a call while we were driving, so he put the phone on speaker, and his brother, my uncle, told him with a shaky voice, "Aunt Julia died last night." And my father was so shocked, he stopped the car while on the highway. My mum had to snap him out of it and get him to keep driving until we could stop. I also remember my mum comforting my father and him leaving that evening for the funeral, which was some days later. That night, I also called my grandma to give her my condolences. Lastly, I remember that the next day or so, my father posted a picture with Julia on Facebook as a goodbye to her, even though he barely posts anything in socials in general. Sad, but normal so far. The problem is, my father is visiting his hometown right now, and we called him this morning to ask how everything was going, and as he was telling us, he casually mentioned my great aunt Julia not liking the dinner that he'd cooked for the family last night. I cut him off, and I was like, "Julia, as in Anna Julia, your aunt?" And he replied that, yes, we were talking about the same person. There's another Julia in my family, but she's in her 40s and lives abroad, plus she's not my dad's aunt, obviously. I immediately asked, "But wasn't she dead?" And my mum promptly looked at me weird, and my father said, "What are you talking about?" I pushed it a little, but ultimately let it go for the time being. At the start, I even believed they were pranking me for some reason, but after we hung up, I had a conversation with my mum, in which I tried to remind her of us finding out Julia had passed away, the funeral, and everything, and she couldn't remember a thing. She told me I must have gotten her confused with another Julia, but we literally know nobody else with that name, save for that person I talked about before. But it doesn't end there, no. My mum and I were sitting down to have lunch when my mum got some text. She laughed and said something like, "Well, she looks pretty alive for a dead woman," as she showed me some pictures. And sure enough, there were photos of some family members my father was having lunch with, and who was in most of them? My great aunt Julia. I was fed up and honestly scared shitless at this point. I even went looking for that picture my father posted with Julia on Facebook, and apparently he hasn't posted a picture on there for 5 whole years. And I dug deep. I ended up checking the socials of other family members too, and nothing. I don't know if there's an explanation of some sort for this, but I'd really like some advice. I posted this on a different subreddit before, but it was deleted, I think. Anyway, people in the comments suggested these explanations. 1. That it was a dream I had, very original, which I truly doubt, because like I said, I remember the days after it happened. I can perfectly recall my father coming back from the funeral sometime afterwards. I remember that we were in the car originally going to IKEA to buy a desk for my mum, and we had to end up going like the week afterward or so. 2. That I switched dimensions, which is fair because I posted it on a Glitch in the Matrix subreddit at first, but now I'm seriously worried that something's wrong with my brain, so I'm going for a different approach. 3. A couple of people DM'd me accusing me of faking a story for engagement or as a writing exercise, but I don't know how to tell you all that I swear on everything I've got that this is unfortunately happening to me. What I'm doing now: trying to find some WhatsApp conversations that we had in a group chat with my parents about when my father was coming back from the funeral, etc. But I don't know if I'll be able to because I've changed phones since then and lost a lot of chat logs. Any advice is appreciated. Thank you. OP is remembering a clear, detailed memory of their great aunt passing away, but reality shows that she is actually alive. So, what happened? This could definitely be a false memory that OP's mind has come up with. Even some of our most vivid memories can be fabricated. This could be especially likely if OP had another family member who died around that time, maybe another aunt or an uncle. During a time of stress, their brain could have confused a lot of the details as the years have passed, solidifying another person's death as their great aunt in OP's head. Another possibility that many people in the comments came up with was that this was just a big misunderstanding that was corrected, but OP didn't know. Years back, there is a good chance that OP's dad was told that Julia had died, but he had misunderstood and assumed that it was OP's great aunt. It could have been someone with a different name, or maybe even the same name that their dad didn't process correctly. This would make sense if he did then go on to make the Facebook post that OP remembered, because it would probably be then that he would be corrected, remove the post, and go on with his life. Out of embarrassment or just wanting to move on, he may have completely forgotten that OP knew, or assumed that someone else had corrected OP. As others pointed out, this seems much more likely than the complete fabrication of a vivid memory. The very out there conclusion is that this was some sort of glitch in the Matrix. If you believe in that stuff, there could be a chance that there is a reality out there where OP's great aunt did die, and OP managed to get back to this one where they are alive and well. The death could have also been a dream. This would explain why OP's mum just laughed it off. Surely if there was a misunderstanding in the past, she would have known and maybe explained what happened to OP. But if it all happened inside their head, then of course the mum would have no way of knowing this. If OP is truly looking to solve what happened, then they should try and conclude if it is likely to be a dream. Ask their mum what other funerals the family may have attended around that time. Ask if anyone else, even outside of the immediate family, had passed away in that period. With those answers, maybe they can then find some closure. But there's only one thing that we can be sure of right now, and that is that Great Aunt Julia is alive. Just wanted to quickly say that if you are enjoying this video, it would mean the world to me if you like it, subscribe to the channel and hype the video. Leaving a comment also really helps out, so let me know what you think down there. But without further ado, let's get back to the video. Angry, confused, and scared, this OP came to the RBI subreddit with a terrifying story. They had tried to call their long-distance boyfriend multiple times, but every time, someone else had picked up, and things were making absolutely zero sense. My boyfriend is in Myanmar. I'm in North America. Recently, we've become long distance, but we lived together prior to this. When he went to Myanmar, he gave me his new phone number. I've called him on the number before, he's answered multiple times, so I know for a fact that it is his number. Recently, we got in a little argument, and he's barely messaged me. He hasn't had his internet switched on at all, so I decided to call his phone number because I knew that that would be on. So I called it once, then a woman answered the phone. At first, I was angry because a woman was answering his phone, but then I realised that her accent wasn't even Burmese. Confused, I hung up, double-checked the number, and called again. This time, a man picked up. He was rambling on very quickly in a thick Russian accent. I couldn't understand anything he was saying. I hung up and quickly called back, now under the impression my boyfriend must have been kidnapped or something by a bunch of Russians. When I called back again, a kid picked up. He was screaming into the phone, and after a few times saying hello, he started having a regular conversation in Burmese. It was one-sided, like I couldn't hear who he was talking to, even if he was talking to anyone. I couldn't make out many words because I'm not fluent, but I could hear him saying mother, work, don't have. He would pause before continuing on. This time, I hung up and called immediately back. Now, an Indian woman speaking English picked up. This is where I could confirm completely that I was hearing other people's conversations over the phone lines. I can't remember exactly what she was saying, but I could tell it was a scam call. She was requesting details from someone, then she would pause and say things like yeah, or that's right, or I just need your details. I started trying to speak into the microphone, but I went unheard. She just continued on this conversation with someone. I couldn't hear anyone except for her. This is 100% my boyfriend's phone number, and now I'm not sure how I'm supposed to contact him. Every time I try, someone else picks up the phone, someone who can't hear me. Honestly, it's really weird to me that I'm hearing conversations from other people when I'm just trying to call my boyfriend. It makes me feel extremely creepy, and I don't understand why it's happening. Is there any explanation for this? Certainly a creepy incident, but is there a simple answer? Possibly, because according to an article written in 2021, sources told the press that the Myanmar military was ordering the country's telecom and internet service providers to install intercept spyware that would allow the army to eavesdrop on unsuspecting citizens. This would include their phone calls. And the person making the call would be unable to hear the eavesdropping military person on the other end, exactly as OP is experiencing here. A few people suggested a simpler option, that the call was being forwarded by her boyfriend, but he proved that this was not the case. By the sounds of it, he isn't very tech savvy, as OP had to even explain how to screen record and use Google, but once he figured it out, he showed that not only did he have no call forwarding settings enabled, but OP's number wasn't even blocked, so there was no reason why she shouldn't have been able to get through to him. OP also provided this update to the story. Shortly after I posted this, my boyfriend turned on his internet. We talked for a bit and I explained to him what was going on. He insisted that no one has been on his phone. He said it was possible that his friends had picked it up at some point if he wasn't available, because they do live in the same house, but his friends only speak Burmese and don't have children. So that doesn't explain the Russian, English, or the child. Someone suggested that I get my boyfriend to screen record as I called to prove that he wasn't pulling a prank or doing anything weird. After 30 minutes of explaining how to even screen record to him, he figured it out. He showed me proof that his phone number was the one I had been calling, then showed me his blocked callers list. During this screen recording, I called him. His phone didn't ring. Instead, a Burmese woman answered the phone. She was just rambling on about her day. She was either driving or standing by a very busy road as I could hear heavy traffic, almost completely drowning out her voice. His small village doesn't even have cars. Everyone gets around by using small boats. I also posted in the Myanmar subreddit, and someone made a good point. Although they didn't have an explanation, they were right about the current state of the country. Due to the war, the country's phone lines and internet are heavily controlled, and it's possible that that is what is causing this. And as it would turn out, that would most likely be the correct answer, because after hearing some stories from the Myanmar subreddit, they came to the conclusion that this was due to the eavesdropping ability that the military had. How OP managed to get access to that accidentally, we don't know, but with everything taken into account and the restrictions in place over there, it's hard to argue that this isn't the case, especially when in comments of the post made to the Myanmar subreddit, people have said that they had experienced similar things in the past. As for why it's happening to OP though, they suggested that it may be something to do with the fact that this is an international call, as all of his friends are able to call him with no problem at all. Genuinely concerned right now for OP though, as they seem to have just turned 20 and their boyfriend is 28 years old. Their post history also shows that they dated a 31-year-old in the past, but hey, who am I to judge, I suppose? Just a little note, and OP, if you're watching this video, just be careful, please. But for now, we have our answer, as to why OP was able to listen in on other people's calls. Earlier this year, a Redditor would make a post recalling an incident that happened to them all the way back in 1992. When you read it, you realise just how creepy the details are. And now, OP believes that they may have almost been the victim of a sick cult. In 1992, I worked in a witchcraft/rental store in Manhattan. It was December 20th, and there had just been this massive blizzard, so the city was covered in snow still. My usual shift was 4 PM to 12 AM with my boss, but because he fell and broke his hip, it was just me. At the start of my shift, some religious guy came in and tried to make a scene. I was annoyed enough at this point, so I kicked him out. The normal crowd of odd men came in, but one in particular I kept noticing. Later, some middle-aged white man kept walking past the store window and looking in. I assumed he was some yuppie who was considering buying one of our unique films that we carried. It was 11:50ish and the store was empty when he finally came in. I was about to start the closing process when he did come in. I had 10 minutes till I closed the store, but I assumed that he was just going to be quick. Once it hit 12:03, he was still wandering about the place. I asked if he was going to buy something. He then called me a degenerate, then threw a rack of VHS tapes on the floor and ran out of the store. At around 12:10, I grabbed my coat and headed for the door when a brick was thrown through the window. I looked outside and there's no one there, so I call my boss and he says that I am not allowed to leave until a repairman shows up. It was like 12 AM in the morning in Manhattan. So when I went back out, I saw there was 3 men standing outside, so I panic and run to the break room. I locked the door and they tried to kick it down. There was an alleyway which I managed to get out of. I managed to find a cop after a bit. They didn't take me seriously, but after about 10 minutes of begging, they came with me. The store they found ransacked is covered in hyper-religious graffiti. Nothing was stolen, and there was only damage to the photos and the tarot books we had. I have no idea who these guys were, and neither did the cops. The cops told me that he was either a rapist who was attacking retail workers that realised I was transsexual. There was nothing taken, so they couldn't write it off as a burglary. Nothing ever came of this from the cops. I recently tried to get my file, and the cops at the time wrote me off as a mentally ill homosexual. Does anyone know what this could have been? As some users pointed out, cults are often more organised than their sick actions. This led people to believe that OP was, rather, almost a victim of religious attackers. This makes even more sense when OP elaborates on what made the films unique. They mention that they mostly stalked adult videos featuring gay people, trans people, or BDSM content. As a lot of people still do to this day, these could have been people who believed that this stuff was against the Bible, and so decided to try and attack OP and the store when they least expected it. OP does think though that with some of the individuals who caught her eye throughout the shift, these people may have actually been stalking her all night. As for the religious graffiti that OP says they saw, they mention that they didn't get a lot of time to look at it before the police dragged them out. OP also notes that even the officers seemed freaked out by it. As for what it was, they can't remember exactly, but describe it as either satanic or really weird Catholic stuff. OP has access to her file though, and she hasn't provided any descriptions that the police wrote down about the attack. All she reveals is that the police brushed her off as a mentally ill crossdresser, showing how they treated this serious issue with very little urgency. Rather than radical religious people attacking the store specifically for the adult content that they stocked, I am actually inclined to agree with the police that the reason they attacked OP was that one of them realised that she was trans. This would have made her a much bigger target, and an even bigger one at that when we put the context of the store on top of everything. But those are just assumptions, and sadly we'll never truly know why OP was attacked on that cold winter night. Thank you very much for making it to the end of this video, I really appreciate you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video if you did enjoy, and also hype it. Let me know what you think of these stories in the comments and what one you thought was the most interesting. And guys, if you want more of the light-hearted content that I was doing earlier in the year, then subscribe to my second channel, which is more Jessicur. You can let me know in the comments what you'd like to see me upload on there. I'm thinking of doing stuff like Reddit, Am I the A-hole, and also just commentary videos again, because that's something I'm passionate about, but I kind of want to keep this channel to a specific niche because I know you guys subscribed for that, so I want to give you what you enjoy. Don't forget to check out my social media. I have Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitter, and don't forget to join my Discord server as well if you want to get involved with the community. And thank you so much to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members: Morrigan, Alex Rod, K4 Silver, Entrepreneur, Collecty Key, Brooke, Carmilla, Basefinger, Midnight Kitty, Willow, Briar, X-Fizzy, Shoshka, Frozen Roses, and Greenlee. I'll be back very soon with another video, but if you want another right now, then YouTube thinks that you'll like the video that's on your screen.